is FYI on your TV, brought to you by Hometown News. I'm Kathy Botham. I've got Vera Bert here with me. You were recommended for me to reach out to by Peter Au, my chemistry teacher, but I'm so glad you made it here. He sent me a speech that you did. Now, when did you do that speech?
For the 9th of June.
The 9th of June.
Yes, it was for the 80 years from the day of D-Day.
80 years for the, oh my goodness, yes. And that's what it's all about too, is you were born and raised in England.
Yes.
And you lived through the war there as a child.
Yes.
Okay, now you started your speech out talking about your Aunt Gladys.
Yes.
And she was a missionary?
Yes, she was a mission nurse in Tianjin, China. And she was home on furlough, which is a holiday because they get a year's holiday at a time. And she was due back to China before war broke out. And her trip was via the Mediterranean. Mm-hmm. And her passenger ship was the last one to go through the Suez Canal before it was closed due to the war in North Africa.
Wow.
So
and this is your Aunt Gladys, yes.
Yes.
Wonderful lady, for sure, for sure.
Oh, yeah, she didn't have to go back to China, but she loved what she was doing and she loved the Chinese people. So she had a calling that she had to go back, even though she knew China was not in a good situation either, because they had their internal problems.
Right, right, right.
And they were at war. Well, Japan was at war, so you know it was a dangerous situation. But she wanted to go back, and she did.
And she did, and she did.
Yeah.
Now you lived through the war as a child too.
Yes.
You were issued gas masks.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. My goodness.
Oh, in May. That was May of '39. So we knew that war was imminent because they were gearing up for it. But they, first of all, it was gas masks. And we were children at school. And of course, you had to prepare yourself to be able to put them on in a hurry. Well, us children would have fun. We'd put them on, we'd get them out and put them on in a hurry. And of course, they made rude kind of noises when you laughed. So, but we had to carry them every day during the war.
Really?
And luckily, they never used gas on us, so.
Wow.
But it was something we had to do.
As a child too, and you carried them for how many years?
6 years.
6 years, 6 years.
Yes.
And 6 years as well too, your house was in blackout every night?
Oh yes,
okay.
Yes, in August of '39, every house had to be prepared to do a blackout. And that meant to say that there was no crack of light from any house, and there was no lights, street lights, or anything. It was complete blackout.
Okay, this is for people that flying over or
Well,
going through
it's
town
for the
here.
Germans,
Yes.
you know, for when they were flying over.
Couldn't find you.
They wouldn't recognize places if there were no lights. You know.
My goodness.
So-
I mean, you went through this as a child too, and I noticed through your speech too, you were able to make light of this, you know, like you were talking about, you ate lots of carrots.
Oh yes.
Yes, you ate lots of carrots so you could see in the dark.
Yes, when the blackout did occur, we were told that carrots would make you see in the dark.
Right.
So of course everybody started eating carrots, and there were some people that ate so many carrots they started growing orange. But talking about oranges, we never saw an orange or a banana for regular people all through the war. I never saw an orange or a banana till I came to Canada in 1946.
Wow, really?
Yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Lots of carrots. Carrots were abundant?
Oh yes,
Lots of
because
carrots.
England did grow its own vegetables. Yes.
But yeah.
But stuff that was, you know, I should say produce from abroad was not plentiful, that's for sure.
Right.
Because anything that came into the country had to be for war efforts, not for food.
Yes, yes, I can see that, yeah.
But we adapted. because what else could you do
That's right. That's right.
but adapt?
That's right. Now, your mom was an air warden.
Yes.
What air raid warden?
Yeah.
What is that? What?
Well, she had to go out when the air raid siren came to see that everybody in our little district, she had a district, she had to go out and see that everybody's lights there were no lights escaping from any curtains or anything, so
wow.
that was her job.
That was her job. And you were working since you were 14 years old.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you had to go to work because there was a war on. But I did not go into munitions. I did have a choice at 14. So I went into a fruit and florist.
And that's what you did at 14 years old.
At 14 years old.
Wow, wow. Now your brother was called up as well.
Yes, my brother was called up to go in the Air Force because he was an Air Force cadet before the war. So he was in the Air Force and he served in London, and then he was sent to the South Pacific.
Wow.
To Kuala Lumpur in the South Pacific.
Wow.
Because, well, I guess the English were everywhere.
Yes.
I mean, everywhere where they were needed.
Now, did you know where he was?
Kuala Lumpur, but I mean, that's the only name I know, that he was in Kuala Lumpur.
As a child, though, did you know where your brother was when you left to serve? Or
no.
you wouldn't know back then?
Oh, no.
Wow.
You wouldn't know where they were going because nobody gave any information. But strangely enough, when you think of it, he was in the Air Force. And to get to the South Pacific, he went by sea. Because they didn't fly them.
Not that far, no.
No, and I mean, airplanes were not for travel. They were for important.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely,
work.
For serving. Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yes.
And once again, in your speech, you made light of, you said there was good times. You were talking about theaters and dances and that sort of thing.
Yes. But everything closed down at 8:30.
Because it got
So
dark.
everything started up for, dances and the theater and movies. They started up at 6 o'clock, and at 8:30 they were finished, because the last bus to go home was 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Everything shut down.
Everything shut down.
Well, you didn't want to be out in the blackout, or you
No.
didn't want to be out in an air raid either.
No, that's right. That's right. It was a curfew type thing. You
Oh,
had
yes,
to be home.
yes.
Yes, for sure.
Oh, yes, because, I mean, who wants to be out and it's pitch black? There's no lights, and I mean, cars were not used for ordinary people during the war. I mean, there were buses and trolleys carrying troops and that, but there was no cars.
Wow.
Well, the doctors had a car,
Wow.
but other than that, there were no private use of cars.
Amazing times. I'm so glad you're here to tell this story too. In May 1944, troops and trucks were going by your house for weeks.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What was going on?
Well, troops and trucks were going by we knew very well that something was coming because it was continuous. And we lived on a highway, which today would look like just an ordinary street in a city. But no, it was, you went to bed at night and you could hear them.
You can hear them.
You woke up in the morning and you could hear them. And
So it was ongoing all the time.
Well, sometimes they were stationary because everything doesn't flow, like a roundabout.
Right.
No,
right.
because
Wow.
they would sometimes, you wake up and they'd be sitting on your garden wall, and
Wow.
yeah, and then they would, but the movement was.
You knew something was up.
Yes.
You knew something was
And
up.
I lived in Bournemouth, which was a seaside resort. And during that time, when those ships were going, when the troops were moving and equipment was moving, the bay was, every now and again, would be full of all kinds of crafts, like boats of all different kinds.
Right.
And they'd be there, and then they'd be gone. So they were always on the move. Of course, that was a good idea because you wouldn't leave a whole harbor of boats, because the Germans were still bombing.
Right.
Because we had air raids and bombing all the time.
Wow.
And that's when I said I would have loved a sister, because when the air raids came on, I was in my room all alone, and my mother would have to go out.
Yes.
My father he was called up for the Home Guard because he was in the First World War. So there were times when he was out, and I was the only one in the house.
You were alone.
For a while. But of course, when my mother had done her rounds, she would be back.
Yes.
Into the house.
Yes, yes, you did make mention that you would have liked to have had a sister back then, yes.
Oh, I would love to have had a sister.
Yeah.
Because when the air raids were on, we could have cuddled up together. Instead of being the only one, and
Yeah, the only one going through this by yourself.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. June 6th, though, your mom woke you up. Something wonderful is happening.
Oh, yes, yes. My mother woke me up. She said, "Vera, get up. Something wonderful is happening." And of course, we used to flying out of bed because of air raids.
Oh,
so
yes.
we went outside, and the sky was filled with planes and gliders. Now, I just remember the gliders, but there must have been planes, singular. But it was so marvelous to see, and we were so excited because we knew then the end was coming. We knew then that something was going to happen. It was going to be the beginning of the end of this 6 years.
6 years
of war.
Wow, wow.
And it was wonderful. We waved. I laugh now. We waved to them because it was a beautiful night.
Mm-hmm.
We waved to them whether they could see us or not. I don't know. We even said a prayer for them, for their safety.
Bless you.
Yeah,
for sure.
But it was so wonderful to see something going that way towards France, because I lived right opposite France.
Right.
To see something going to France and not them always coming to us to disturb us,
right.
I should say, to do bombing and that.
Yeah, yeah. Now that was the beginning of D-Day.
That was the start. That was the very start of D-Day, were those planes going over, because those men that were in those gliders were the first ones to land in France.
Wow.
Now, I'm not sure, but by the way things were on the map, I think the planes that went over our house were Americans.
Okay.
Yeah, because the Americans had their part of France. They invaded the part of France, and we invaded another. As a matter of fact, excuse me, the D-Day map was about 50 miles long.
Wow.
And we think of it, it could be huge, but all this was happening on a 50-mile part of France.
Wow, wow. Now, did they make the announcement in church?
Beg your pardon?
Did they make the announcement in church? Was it?
Oh, yes,
Yes.
for the war.
Yes.
Yes, they did. War was declared. I can't remember the date.
Oh, okay. Did they announce the war was over, though, in church?
Oh, no.
No,
Oh,
okay,
no.
okay.
No,
I'm just remembering something else that I read in your speech.
The day that war was declared, we were in church.
You were in church, okay.
And the minister, our minister, announced it at 11 a.m. in the morning, the 3rd of September, I think.
I remember that date, yes. I think you wrote that down,
3rd of
yes.
September.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, when he announced it, of course, it was very traumatic for a lot of people, because they were still suffering from the First World War.
That's right,
There
which was only like 20 years.
25, it was less than 25 years,
Mm-hmm.
the First World War.
Right.
And there was so much loss of life, and so many people that were still having effects of the war.
Wow.
That it was hard on a lot of people.
Right.
to accept that we were at war again.
It was almost a blessing, if I could say, that you went through it as a child.
Yes.
Yes, instead of an adult where you may understand more of
Yes.
what could be really happening here.
Yes, because we did have our good times.
Yes, yes.
Oh, yes, because young people will have good times. And you kind of, after a few months, you start getting used to. It's not a very nice thing to say, but you do.
It's
and
just as a child, as a youth, yes, yeah.
Yeah, and I see on television in these war-torn places where you see children running around, and I think, yes, they're children. They shouldn't have to go through this, but they will get, if they can, they will get over it.
That's right, very resilient,
you know,
very resilient.
Because they are children, where a lot of grown-ups can never regain their feet, sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Because they have so many losses.
Yeah.
But children will, because as I said, I played tennis and went to the theater and yeah.
That's right, that's right. Well, I'm so glad you came here today to tell us your story. This has been amazing. I'm so glad Mr. Rao made the connection for us and you answered your phone for me, so thank you. And thank you to Becky for getting you over here today. So I know the roads are a little treacherous out there today too, so we made it happen.
Well, it's surprising how it's all the ice is gone.
It is. Well, I hear it's supposed to warm up, so
yes.
Well, thank you very much for coming here today, and I'm glad that you made Smith Falls your home.
Yeah,
and you're one of our citizens.
Yes.
So thank you very much for coming here on FYI and telling us your story.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I was able to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.